I've enjoyed being at MIF before. The last time was a year ago, and previously I think it was another year. So there's on our website, you can go and download videos of me talking about the growth of Klondike Gold from more or less the inception when I took over in 2014. Jay tells me that I really should update and explain our business model. I will do it briefly, and then go over some of the reasons why the Klondike and Klondike Gold is a good place to invest in. And in particular, I want to show you some new results talking about the geology and potential in the Klondike district. And so we're exploring directly outside of out of Dawson, so 20 kilometers away. I'll get to that in a minute. The highlights of it, basically, the big picture is we're a discovery story. We're exploring to find gold mineralization to turn them into resources. We think the Klondike is a fantastic place to go and look. The ultimate objective of the company is to find at least 1 million ounces of gold, which is what majors are looking for, and then sell the whole property to majors. We're not really developers, don't want to be, we're trying to sell it. The model here in terms of a financial one is Kaminak, and I'm going to draw a lot of comparisons, geological and financial, to them as the talk progresses. Our capital structure, we have a fantastic capital structure, and we have a fantastic shareholder list of many billionaire people who are very interested in financing us. So we have $6.5 million cash in hand currently. There's another $7.5 million worth of near or at the money warrants held by our major shareholders, principally Frank Giustra personally, second Eric Sprott personally. They also have a number of associated funds, each with less than 10%, so they don't report. Insiders hold 10%. And I guess key shareholders as well. So the total of that is roughly half of the current outstanding shares of the company. Our market cap is $22 million, including the $7 million in cash. So this has an enterprise value of about $15 million, which I think is dramatically low. The Yukon is a fantastic place to go work and explore. It's attracted basically all the world's gold majors in the last 5 to 10 years, and they've invested heavily in junior resource companies by taking percentage of 10 or 20% of a project, or by, in Goldcorp's case, just buying Kaminak out for $500 million. So all of these are active. Klondike Gold gets to talk to these nice people every once in a while, but we do not yet have a deal with any of them, and we're not really seeking one currently. I'd like to go and find enough so that they come and buy us out. We also have fantastic infrastructure located directly outside of Dawson. Half of the road to the Lone Star zone, which I'm going to show you, is paved. The other half is a gravel road. It's maintained by the Yukon government. Everything in that box on the right-hand side, that's basically our claims. Just recently, there's a Canada-Yukon partnership. They're going to put $360 million into upgrading those roads for us, which is very nice of them. The mine road that goes to Goldcorp's Coffee deposit, formerly Kaminak, runs right through the middle of our property. Goldcorp are partnering separately with the Yukon government to upgrade that road. From that, you can gather the Yukon government fully supports mining. So our property basically is the Klondike district. You know the 1896 gold discovery and gold rush there. We own basically all of the quartz claims beneath that. So all of the placer claims, which have produced over 20 million ounces of gold historically, we own the bedrock rights to, which is really the investment thesis going ahead is, wait a minute, there's 20 million ounces of gold lying around on the ground in the gravel, and no one's ever been able to explain a source. Elsewhere in the world, like the California Mother Lode, I use that as an example, there's lots of gold in the gravel, and you can directly relate that to bedrock. In the Klondike, that's never happened, and until now, I would say. So what we've done in the last 3 years, 2015 to 2017, the Klondike is known for quartz veins, and the gold is in quartz veins. And everyone in the last 120 years has looked for that, including me for the first 2015 and going into 2016. As it turns out, I suspect, and we're trying to prove, that the bulk of the gold, the alluvial gold, 20 million ounces, didn't come from quartz veins. It's disseminated in the host rocks. And no one has ever really looked for that at all, and we're now making new discoveries based on that thinking. So again, 2015, what we did was basically had to go and prove that there was gold in bedrock there. We made 2 discoveries, high grade in quartz veins, 76 grams over 3 meters on one. That's on the El Dorado fault, as we now know it. And the second was 5 grams over 7.5 meters. That's on the Nugget fault. On bench scale desktop review, when I got involved with this project, we identified a new set of faults, or previously unrecognized set of faults, that cut the entire district and were potentially the source, I thought, of this gold. And so we've been exploring along those faults since with considerable success. 2016, we began drilling quartz veins again, and at the very end of 2016, recognized that there was disseminated gold in a zone called Lone Star, drilled that, got 2.4 grams over 37 meters, and that really began the change for the potential of this district. So in 2017, basically, we went back to Lone Star and drilled quite a number. Most of those holes from 2017 were drilled around Lone Star with success. So we've now drilled it along a kilometer at 50-meter centers. One of the other things we've done, though, is, so the property, I don't have the property boundary on, but on the left is Lone Star and on the right is Gold Run. And we've recognized this, what is now called the Rabbit Creek Thrust, which extends right the way through the property. And at the other end, 55 kilometers away from Lone Star, is Gold Run, where we have the exact same geology, the exact same structure, the exact same gold-bearing veins. So actually I have some here. I have a pocket full of gold. From Gold Run, and we're going to go drill test that this year, mostly for geology. I'm trying not to wind up investors, but we're trying to show that these gold mineralized structures, and there's several of them, extend through the entire property. This is another new revelation, and so we only just produced it, and it is the first geology map of the Klondike, believe it or not. Anyway, it's amazing to me that it took 120 years to develop a map. Previously, it's called the undifferentiated Klondike schist, and these units don't exist. We now have basically a map with lithology, and which lithologies have disseminated gold and which have quartz veins on structures. And we're using that now predictively to drill new targets, and so we are already making new discoveries. So what we're doing this year is we're flying property-wide airborne, new sensor flying it. Ground Truth are doing 5,000 soils property-wide, and we're SRK are doing structural and lithologic mapping. As it turns out, Kaminak used all these people to advance their project. And then we've just started drilling, which I'll show you in a minute. Some of the geologic comparisons, though. This is the geology map of the Yukon, and it's Klondike schist and Klondike gold's claims, undifferentiated, of course, and also at Kaminak. And all the Coffee Creek granite, all the Sulphur Creek orthogneiss, all that snowcap assemblage, the Klondike schist, all in the same order are repeated. And when you look in detail at the structural map of what Kaminak had in their magnetics, it shows you a horsetail type fault. We have exactly that horsetail type fault with the exact same length in the same orientation. And I think structurally, these two areas are very, very similar. So a timeline of what Kaminak did, 2008, they did a few soils and found 4 gold sites, 4 anomalies in soils. And then were taken out ultimately by Goldcorp in 2016 for $500 million. We're in Kaminak's relative state beginning of 2010. We intend to have, by the end of the year, a 43-101 geology report, potentially written by SRK, who also did Kaminex. And then we'll be moving on into additional testing. The significant milestones here, this is one, Goldcorp and the Toronto First Nation. I would have regarded this as the biggest business risk to us, and here is a route forward. Goldcorp and the First Nation have agreed to develop coffee, and there's no more resistance from the First Nation. So why would you invest in Klondike Gold? Well, you know, we have excellent infrastructure, we have an excellent property, we are exploring and discovering new mineralization. One of the things I just skipped over is that we just began drilling a couple of days ago, and we're doing systematic testing of the Lone Star, which is exactly the same process that Kaminex went through on their structures. So there's going to be a lot of news. This is close infill drilling on a mineralized zone that extends 1 kilometer, and we're trying to determine the geometry of that, in addition to proving the district scale potential. Thank you.